someone who gets attached to the outcome and feels very frustrated and disappointed and just does not want to keep doing it, then this episode is definitely for you. The reason why I wanted to do this is because recently I did a short video about a solution to such problem, and it went viral across several of my platforms. And I really understood that a lot of people have difficulty with this problem, and also a lot of people don't know how to solve for it, especially the attachment part. And it also took me a long time to solve for myself and continue doing it. So I thought I would really spend some time to expand on that topic. But before I do that, can I just share some of the amazing wins from my clients that I just feel like I can't contain and I need to share with everyone? One is one of my clients got UNP4 job, and I just feel so happy for her, especially after her putting a lot of effort and struggling a lot and getting this feels incredibly amazing. So it just feels like as if I got that job myself. And the other client got her first client doing business. And in business, if you haven't done business, it is probably one of the hardest thing for many humanitarians who turn to business and start doing business is like getting the first client. So I feel so proud of her having done that. And then the third one is doing the marathon preparation for I think now almost 2 weeks without interruption, and she had a lot of difficulty being consistent. So I am feeling so proud of her as well. Okay, let me go back to talking about you getting attached to the outcome, right? So usually the scenario that happens that probably you're very familiar with, where we go after an outcome or we go for a goal, whatever that goal is. Maybe it is getting a job, maybe it is making money, maybe it is starting your business, maybe it is going to the private sector, transitioning, whatever it is, we want to go for that outcome. And then obviously things don't go the way we want to, and especially things don't go the way that we expected things will go. And this is usually true for most of the humanity, I would say. Then what we feel when that happens is we feel such deep disappointment, right? We feel like this is not how it should happen. I didn't expect it. I wanted things to be different. Why is it happening to me? And then we got all into a victim mindset for some of us. Others may be getting even more angry, and a lot of us, if this keeps happening several times, then we just energetically give up, right? This is how probably you have experienced it. And the reason why I made this short video that I talked to you about that went viral was when I was coaching a client who wanted to make 2K in her business, right? So she was a humanitarian, now she started her own business, and she wanted to challenge herself to make a 2K. Because one of the things that I really want people to, humanitarians to practice embodying the identity of being someone who can make whatever money work or more create the money they want to, right? So therefore, when I was talking to her, she was telling me the same thing, right? She was telling me that, oh my God, I set this goal and then I get so attached to it and then I just feel so frustrated when this doesn't happen. That's why I don't even put any goals like this, right? And you probably know this from yourself as well. Except that we might be living in a situation where we don't have a choice but to set certain goals and achieve certain outcomes because it's vital to our survival. But maybe we want to do it because we want to grow as humans as well. In that situation, if we keep approaching this from the place of attachment, which essentially means it has to go this way, and if it doesn't, then I will be frustrated. So in other words, we put all this pressure and stress on how it has to go this way. And then we believe that if it goes this way, then we will feel all the great emotions. And therefore, we keep waiting for the outcome to happen for us to feel those great emotions, even though we now know that we can feel those great emotions whether we achieve that outcome or not. But oftentimes we don't allow that to happen, right? So, for instance, you probably know about my journey of humanitarian millionaire, where I was telling everyone that I would like to approach this goal from me already feeling like the person who can do that instead of can I do that, right? Therefore, if I already feel like the person who can do that, I will have all the emotions that I want, and then I will see how the outcome happens versus me putting all of my eggs kind of a situation where I say it has to happen this way, it has to happen this manner in this period, and if it doesn't, then I will be frustrated and I will give up. That pattern is, I feel, so common that we kept going into that pattern of thinking that was so toxic to ourselves, right? And if we don't want to be in that situation anymore, then we need to start understanding, okay, how do I keep going to that outcome because that's important to me, whether it's for my survival or my growth? How do I keep going to that outcome without attachment? Or even if I'm attached, then how do I still keep putting all the efforts and not give up when this doesn't happen? So when we were discussing with my client who wanted to make 2K in her business, I was telling her, okay, how can we do all the effort to go to that outcome without expecting the outcome itself, but expecting you becoming the person who makes 2K in a month with your business, the thing that you love to do, without any problem. So instead of us keep reinforcing how you cannot get to this and how you are giving up, how you're frustrated and how you're disappointed, instead of reinforcing that pattern, what if reinforce the pattern of you being the person who creates 2K a month identity? Right? So if we are reinforcing the identity, then obviously we know that it may happen this month or maybe next month, who knows? But at least we are reinforcing that identity of you being someone who can do that. And then the more you embody and act from that place, the more you are likely to get to that outcome. And then what is left afterwards is not only that you have achieved that goal, but you started having that immense trust in yourself that oh, you are someone who can do this, right? And then you start even thinking about, oh, maybe I am someone who can do now 5K a month, and then you keep growing that capacity. So the way that I have also solved for myself in this journey as to how my like attachment to the outcome is so strong and how I battled with it. Then I started also looking at my pattern was mostly where I would go for that outcome and I would put all the effort necessary to do that. But I would also feel so frustrated in the way that I wouldn't want to do anything on this topic for several weeks, right? You probably can relate to this as well. I would literally like say, okay, I'm not doing anything. I would essentially rebel against my own dreams, right? And then I would say, I'm not doing anything. I'm just like done with it. I will never pursue any goal and this kind of very drastic measures. And now I have been training myself to, instead of keep focusing on the outcome and keep focusing on how not to be attached, how to be attached, and oh my God, I'm worried that I'm attached and having all this trauma, instead of doing that, what I'm really practicing is I am someone, again, the identity piece, right? I am someone who does not take her foot off the gas just because things get challenging. right? Because the challenge part is what grows our skill set. And without the challenges, we will probably not grow our skill set. But in the moment, we're not using the challenge well. We're just using it to mean either no, this that shouldn't happen, and we resist a lot in it, right? We resist the challenge itself, or we get so frustrated that we didn't get the outcome, then we start giving up altogether for several months or maybe weeks, and then we come back and then we pick it up as if from zero, and that's where a lot of efforts have gone in vain. And instead of doing that, what I'm then training myself to do is, okay, what if I'm someone who doesn't need to take her foot off the gas just because I encountered challenges, right? What if I'm someone who can go through these challenges and still reinforce the identity of someone who can do this rather than keep fixating on the outcome? You see, so if we can make every challenge, every obstacle, every attachment, every challenge in the process to mean that this is about us reinforcing the identity we like, then everything else becomes solvable, right? So let me give you an example from maybe humanitarian work, right? So let's say that I am in one of the countries that I work. Let's say I'm in Ukraine. That's where I was last time, right? So let's say I was in Ukraine and as a humanitarian, and let's say that there were a lot of challenges that required me to make decision as head of office um, that tested my integrity, right? So I needed to make decisions that showed either I'm in integrity with myself as a professional, or I would just go with the flow of solving this thing temporarily and then hope for the best next time. And this type of situations happens all the time. And in such challenging situations where the war is going on, a lot of suffering, it becomes very tempting. And I have probably done also decisions that were not in integrity with myself. But it becomes very tempting in those challenging, the very, very challenging situations to make decisions that would be against me being in integrity, right? And oftentimes that temptation comes from me wanting to have the outcome, right? Me wanting to have that temporary solution, me wanting to have that temporary relief so that I can say, okay, at least we got this temporary solution. So then even if we were not in integrity with ourselves, it's fine. And sometimes we may do that, but if we keep doing it very often, then we are reinforcing the identity of we're not really in integrity with ourselves, right? And the same goes here is that whatever the outcome and transitioning you are pursuing, if we keep pursuing only the outcome and keep saying, okay, if we get that outcome, then we will feel relief, then the chances of us giving up is very high. But if we say, no matter what that outcome is, I want to keep reinforcing my identity of being the person who goes through, excuse me, who follows through and gets to that outcome. Then, even if we didn't get the outcome, even if we were frustrated, we at least achieved something, which is reinforcing who we are, or reminding ourselves who we are, or reminding ourselves that we can do this, or at least building the muscle of this is who we are, even if times are challenging. And in every challenging situation that I currently experience, I'm asking myself, okay, this challenge is requiring me to reinforce which element of my identity, right? Is it requiring me to reinforce the identity of me being always in integrity? And for me, being in integrity also means that I do things that I believe in, right? So I always do things that I believe in. I don't do things because I need money, or because it's just a job, or because I have to, I can't do anything else, because I don't want to be in that victim mindset anymore. I have done that a lot of that time, and I don't want to do that. So therefore, every time when the challenge arises, whatever that obstacle is and the challenge is, I ask myself, okay, this challenge is requiring me to reinforce which of the identity. So currently, the challenge that I'm working on is my brain keeps saying in the moment, I don't feel like doing it, right? And you probably have this as well. And in the moment when I don't feel like doing it, that's a challenge, right? Then I ask myself, okay, what kind of identity this is requiring me to reinforce? The identity that says, oh, I will just give in to this challenge and then feel like, oh, I don't want to do anything and then stay on the couch, or the identity of someone who says, okay, how am I going to approach this feeling and still keep doing the things that I want to? Another challenge that I help coach a lot of my clients is when they're transitioning, the challenge of fear, right? Fear of judgment, or fear of not working out, fear of failure. And in those moments, I ask them also that even if whatever the outcome that we're going for, what is the identity we want to reinforce by solving this challenge? Right? Is this the identity of, oh, I'm someone who always keeps giving in to this fear and never go and live the life I want to, or I'm someone who figures out how to solve that fear? And both are possibilities. I just want everyone to start seeing for themselves how, whenever we're faced with a challenge, with an obstacle, with a like a suffering or struggle situation, in those moments, in those most difficult, hardest moments, we always get to look at what is going on and then say, okay, in this situation, if I don't solve it, if I avoid it, if I just go away and say, oh, I'm not going to think about it, let me not think about it, or let me not decide about it, in that moment, what identity you are reinforcing? Probably you are reinforcing the identity of someone who avoids, someone who does not decide, someone who's afraid to make decisions, and et cetera, et cetera. But if you say, okay, this is what is meant to be part of my life, I'm also, by the way, training myself currently to feel like I get to be present for all parts of my life, all the hard ones and all the great ones. Because it would be also very not in integrity with myself if I said, oh, I'm only there for great things in my life. I'm going to avoid all the hardship, right? Because that would be then me saying, I can't handle it. Me saying I preach about this to other people, but I actually don't do it myself. You see how that wouldn't be in integrity with myself, right? So therefore, I get to be for all the great things and all the hard things. I'm there for everything. So that's why I think if we start looking at not so much fixating on the outcome, because we know what the outcome we want to, right? And we know also how we would feel after having that outcome. But I think because we're so enticed by how we would feel after having that outcome, we're so focused on that. And then feeling like deprived of all the emotions that we would like to feel currently. And we are not approaching this as whatever the choice we make, we are reinforcing one of the identities that we either want to have or we don't want to have. And whichever the one we keep reinforcing, then obviously that gets stronger and then that starts dominating who we are, right? So if we keep reinforcing the identity of someone who can't solve fear of failure, then we just keep reinforcing that identity of, oh, I'm always afraid of failure. Therefore, I don't go for those things. Therefore, I just keep settling for things that I don't want to. Or therefore, I keep choosing safe options, for instance, right? And while that might have been possible at some point, maybe at other points it will no longer be possible. So then what are we going to do about it? And one of the best ways that I believe we can do is, if we especially want to have that inner freedom, is to say whatever the fears I'm willing to solve and whatever the emotions I'm willing to go through, because I am in for experiencing that inner freedom rather than keep imprisoning myself with all of these emotions as to how I can't solve this, how I can't do this, and then feeling like, oh, I'm not living that life, that expansive, growing life that I wanted to. Okay, my dears. I hope that I was able to give you a lot of different ways to look at it and how to solve for it next time when you have challenges. If you need support with this, come coach with me. In the meantime, have a beautiful week.